Everybody's saying AI is going to transform your coaching business, right? Or transform your coaching ads. And maybe it will, but right now, what I'm seeing are coaches blowing through 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 ad spend, all because AI told them to do it. Now, I'm not saying AI is useless because I use it and you should too, but there's a specific lane that it belongs in. And running your meta ad strategy, that isn't it. I've spent millions and millions in ad spend over the last 20 years, and I know what's working and what isn't. And right now, AI is one of the biggest reasons that coaches are getting burned. So today, I'm going to show you exactly where AI helps, where it breaks down, and what you should actually be doing instead. Let's get into it. Here's what AI is really good for. It's good for first draft copy, like headlines, body text, all these variations. Really great for that because it's fast and it gives you a solid starting point. It's also really good at outlining, structure, frameworks, hooks. Great, great tool for that. Another thing that I really like to use it for are A/B test copy variations. So you can generate 50 or 100 versions and test them pretty fast. Just remember though, that is largely dependent upon your budget. So in other words, if you're running a $10 a day ad, there's no need to create 50 or 100 ads. That's just not going to be helpful to you. Uh, but if you're running, $200 a day, okay, then you can do that. If you're anywhere in between, you just kind of want to make it accordingly, because if you don't, in other words, if you try to put out 50 ads and you're running 10 or 20 or $50 a day, Meta's going to pick the winner for you, and YouTube will too. If you're running YouTube ads, it'll pick the winner for you way too soon, and you won't really get a full test, or it's going to take you so long to test it, it's not going to be effective. In other words, it might take you 2 months to test all that. That's not going to work. So just bear that in mind. Now, I will say this. AI does write way better first drafts than I ever have. And frankly, that's a little embarrassing given what I charge. But that's the lane, that's where it is, and that's where it belongs. Now, let me kind of go into why AI cannot run your coaching funnel. And the simple answer is it just doesn't have enough data on coaching funnels, not compared to e-commerce, which is where it gets almost all its data. It's been trained on the internet, and the internet is full of e-commerce wins, drop shipping case studies, Amazon ad breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. And that's great. That's good. But coaching is a completely different beast, right? The sales cycle is usually a much longer. The trust threshold is way higher. And the offer at 5K or 10K is a lot different than a, $10 pair of socks or whatever. That just not, you're comparing apples to oranges. So when you ask AI to optimize your coaching funnel, it gives you e-commerce logic with a bunch of coaching words on top of it. And, it's a little scary because when it goes to analyze your metrics, if you're using it for that, that does the same thing. And you're going to wonder why it's not converting, right? It's going to tell you to do all these things, and you're going to be thinking, well, I asked it and it told me to do all these things, and it's not really working. See, critical thinking is non-negotiable here. AI doesn't know your client, you do. And that's what you have to remain in. So, I've given bad funnel advice before, of course, I certainly have, but at least I've been inside coaching funnels, and I've done them for years and years, and I have a lot of data. That data is just not public. That way, that same with everybody else's. That's why AI can't figure that out. That's why it doesn't know what works and what doesn't. So AI is not really reading about them. All right, a quick commercial. Now, this is free, so, I don't know if you call it a commercial or not, but it's the Brutal Truth Marketing Digest. It's my weekly newsletter, and it's really simple. It's what I call unconventional marketing for coaches who are tired of guessing and want clients they can count on. And it's really simple. We talk about ads, we talk about offers, we talk about clients. It's right in there, and they're super short and to the point. So let me just kind of show you what one looks like. So now let me just say this. The first thing you'll get on Mondays is you get what I call a gut punch reminder. So it'll be like this, right? It'll be this short. Still building, you should be selling by now. And it's just a thing to kind of remind you what to be focused on. A lot of times in those, I'll just say, hey, did you get a client this week? Then stop thinking about it and go get one. That's it. Like, we all just need that little thing to just kind of remind us what we should be doing. So that comes on Mondays. On Tuesday comes the actual Brutal Truth Marketing Digest. And you can see this is kind of what it looks like. I'm just going through, like on this one, I'm going through master classes, and I'm just kind of talking about the numbers. So, what if you have your program's 3K, then you can compare that if yours is 1,500, or if yours is, 10,000, whatever it is, so that you can kind of get an expectation of what to look for and what needs to happen in order to make that work. And it's not that long. I mean, go down here. I mean, you can read it in just a few minutes. So check that out. Would love to have you on the list and do it. Okay, now let's talk about the meta ad decisions that are costing you money, because frankly, this is where it really gets expensive. And what I'm talking about are the on and off decisions. So AI will often tell you to turn off a campaign that's in the learning phase. Now, sometimes you should do that, but frankly, it doesn't know when you should and when you shouldn't. It'll tell you all the time to turn stuff off that you should leave on, or that, leave stuff on that you should have turned off. I see that every day, and it's a little scary, frankly. And then, what happens? Well, you're just going to lose every dollar of data you just paid for because you turned it on or turned it off at the wrong time. See, it doesn't understand Meta's algorithm the way that you think that it does. It doesn't really understand the learning phase. Now, the learning phase isn't always relevant in some campaigns, and it doesn't know that either. So sometimes it might look at it and say, like, you might screenshot it and give it to Claude or something, and it might say, well, it's still in the learning phase, keep going. But it doesn't understand that it's never going to exit the learning phase, or what the learning phase really means for your business. The next thing is like it won't understand things like audience overlap. When your campaigns are overlapping this audience, that audience, you're overspending and you're overbidding. It just can't grasp that, what that really means for you. The other thing is campaign budget optimization versus ad set budget. And what I mean by that is that you can set your campaign to the budget to go out through all your ad sets, or you can set it individually in each ad set. But the problem there is that Claude, or any of them really, it doesn't matter, ChatGPT, Grok, whoever, they're going to always go with the suggestions of Meta, and Meta suggestions are almost exclusively for e-commerce, not for coaches. So you don't want to do that, right? That it's just taking that, because it's just aggregating all that stuff. I mean, AI is not thinking. That's not what it's doing. All it is it's just basically like a large, very fast autocomplete. It's predictive text. It's not really analyzing what you're doing. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it does not know your numbers, what you need. It doesn't understand your cost per lead, your close rate. And even if you give it that stuff, it doesn't know what it should be. Okay. It can give you an outline of it, but you can't count on it to figure that properly. And basically it's working off averages, and your business, it's just not an average if you're a coach. So you're hearing about the coaches who used AI and won, which actually I don't really hear that many. When I've looked into them, the few that are out there, they're really not doing the business that they claim to be doing, or at least not in the way they're presenting it. I'm seeing so many people waste so much time trying to get AI to figure it out instead of just figuring it out yourself. And it's really going to help you to learn how to do it. It's like, I was listening to Jim Rohn. I don't know if you're familiar, but Jim Rohn, the predecessor, so to speak, or where Tony Robbins came from. That's where Tony got most of his stuff. But I was listening to him the other day, and essentially he's telling you how to solve a problem. He says, read a book, or, do this or whatever. And one of the things he said then he says, if that doesn't work, then ask somebody. He said, but don't ask somebody until you've tried these other things. It's sort of like that with AI. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it to get inspiration, but you don't want to ask it to solve your problem until you've tried to figure it out, because what you're going to learn in there is going to trump anything that you're going to figure out with AI when you're doing this kind of stuff. So the thing about the coaches out there, like I said, the few out there, if any, that are saying how much they've made using AI, you're not hearing about the hundreds and hundreds and thousands who used it and burned through all this cash because they didn't make it work. That's not a sample. That's a highlight reel of just these few people. So, I mean, that's what it really is. All right, here's what to do instead. Use AI for copy, outlines, variations. That's the real value. Use it. But for strategy, you need someone who understands coaching funnels specifically, not generic ad advice. And you must know your numbers first. Cost per lead is important, close rate, lifetime value, show up rates. No tool or AI or otherwise is going to help you if you don't know your own numbers. So you've got to know this. And uh, you can hand off, I was heard somebody say the other day, I was like, you can hand off the work, just not the responsibility. And I think that's right. So that's it. That's what you have to do. Okay, AI isn't going away, so I'm not going to pretend like it is, and I'm not telling you to ignore it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you to stop asking it to make decisions that it doesn't have the data to make. So use it for copy, use it for outlines, like I said before, use it to go faster. But the second you ask, should you scale this campaign or why your offer isn't converting, you're just asking the wrong tool. So you have to be really careful there. And frankly, it's going to cost you. It's cost a lot of people, and I'm seeing that every day. So if you want to understand what actually moves the needle in your coaching ads, you're going to want to check out this video next.